Many years ago, when I was tonsured, a reader, and a subdeacon, I took the name Justin. My baptismal name was Richard. And it didn't really matter. I would travel under Justin and didn't bother anything until, of course, 9/11, and then everything changed. So after many years, I finally went and legally changed my name to Justin. And the day I had to go to court, there were about 35 or 40 cases that the judge was hearing that day, and I was like number 29. So, I'm saying blah, 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 I don't care about any of that. I'm bored out of my gourd, right? And then mine comes, and now I'm really interested, right? Because I got something I want. Well, sometimes we're like that with our Christian life, right? I mean, church is like blah, 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 and we're bored. When we talk about Lent, we're like, oh, God, I'm just too important for Lent. My life is too important. I can't fast. I have social engagements. Right? Well, here's the thing. We don't emphasize it very often, but it's a very strong part of our spiritual life. We're the ones on trial. So we should be pretty darn interested in doing anything we possibly can to strengthen our case. Right? We talk about today the Last Judgment. And that gospel we just heard, if it was blah, 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 you need to go back and read it because it's scary. Okay? Because neither the sheep nor the goats saw it coming. Right? So they were going about their day, and there have been other gospels like that, that we hear throughout the year, where our judgment comes suddenly, and we're expected to be ready. So, the church gives us the season of Great Lent so that we might be ready for our judgment. We should be doing the things that we kind of intensify during the Lenten season, all the time. But Lent gives us a chance to kind of restart and refocus and increase the spiritual practices in our lives that, as we say in the prayers, give us a good defense before the awesome judgment seat of Christ. So those practices are prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. And over the last few weeks we've heard Gospels, and we'll continue to hear Gospels, that kind of reflect on those practices. Prayer is done both personally at home and also together as a community. It's not one or the other. So people ask me, how come I can't just sit at home on my couch? Well, you can, you should. But you also have to pray with the whole body of Christ. And during the season of Great Lent, we have beautiful prayers here in the church. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. Mondays are Great Compline. Wednesdays are the Pre-Sanctified Liturgy, and Fridays the Activist Hymn to the Mother of God. The first Monday, Clean Monday, which is March 3rd, it's a week from tomorrow, we'll actually pray the Pre-Sanctified Liturgy for the first day of Great Lent. And Daylight Savings Time begins the Sunday after next, so Sunday of Orthodoxy. So if you like the darkness for the Pre-Sanctified Liturgy, then we only have 2 shots at it this year. So make sure you come one of those days. We have a beautiful retreat program that is set up, and there's information that I think that went out on the round bulletin this weekend. We also have a little booklet that will be available both electronically and in the back of the church in paper form that has a little meditation on each day of Great Lent. So there's all sorts of opportunities for you to read the Bible at home, for you to increase your prayer life in some way, to pray the Jesus Prayer a little bit more, to read a spiritual book. And then also the increased prayers in church. Prayer helps us to have a deeper contact with God so that we live our lives in a way that is pleasing to Him, and thus when we come to our judgment, we have something to say. Fasting is perhaps the most difficult part of Great Lent, the most fraught part. We make the most excuses around fasting. And St. Paul says in the first reading today, you don't have to fast at all. You don't have to. But we embrace it because it helps us to curb the influence that stuff has over our lives. Right? You don't realize how much influence your possessions have over you. And fasting helps by saying no voluntarily to meat and animal products, to wine and olive oil during the weekdays, not eating from midnight to noon, all of those things, if that's the full fast, helps you to kind of have that discipline to tackle some of the other things that have control over your life, some of the other vices that you have. There's a wonderful, I could recommend to you a series of sermons from St. John Chrysostom on the statues. Okay? So St. John Chrysostom, when he was a deacon, a group of people in Antioch got drunk and went out and knocked over the statues of the emperor and his family. Well, the emperor was not super happy about that and was going to condemn the entire city. The bishop at the time, Flavian, convinced him to put on trial those who had been caught, right? And so St. John Chrysostom, since it was just about the beginning of Lent, preached a whole series of sermons that are beautiful for the Lenten season, basically saying to people, if you had been fasting, you wouldn't have gotten drunk and knocked over the statues. And he's not wrong, right? I mean, but in that, he also describes what a trial was like in the ancient world. It wasn't any of this business where you got rights and all the rest of it. I mean, you were put to torture. You know, the emperor or the judge could put you under torture. So you came out of it beat up regardless, whether you won or you lost. And so fasting is meant for us to discipline ourselves. As I said, the full fast is vegan, and we don't eat from midnight to noon. You're allowed shellfish anytime during the fast, and fish, strictly speaking, on Annunciation and Palm Sunday. But again, you make the modifications that you need to make so that you're able to remain healthy, but also have a spirit of fasting in the season. The gospel today focused very heavily on almsgiving, right? On sharing God's mercy with others. And, you know, the Father said that, you know, when we stand before our judgment, the kindness that we've given, the mercy that we've shared, is what we will have as a defense in our own judgment against all the sins that we've committed. And so we have backpack buddies that we work with that literally gives food to children right here in Alabama, puts food in their hands. And as we heard in the gospel today, what that means is we're actually putting food into the hands of Jesus himself. We have other charitable opportunities here in the parish that we can help prepare food for different organizations and so forth. There are, if you go to our diocesan website, melkite.org, there are opportunities for overseas relief. You can contribute there as well. But more than just kind of financial things, sharing God's mercy through your kindness, through giving somebody a break who might be having a bad day, a word of love and kindness, especially to those that you live with, right? I mean, almsgiving can be across the dinner table, not just something, you know, far away. And so it's important for this season of Great Lent, especially since Jesus says that this is the very thing that divided the sheep from the goats. It might be something we want to think about very, very seriously. In all of this, we know that God's judgment is tempered by his mercy and his compassion. We sang it several times this morning in our prayers, and you hear it often. We don't want to take that for granted. We're mindful that when we stand here in the fear of God, in faith and in love, we stand before his judgment seat. And we ask him to have mercy on us, and we do our best to have something to show for all of the life that we